Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today to show you some results of the latest consumer survey we did. A consumer survey where we were looking into how do consumers in Netherlands and in the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium look into packaging. How do they look into packaging and what are their packaging preferences? And I will share the results with you in the next few minutes. We asked 620 consumers, and that's a very latest research we did. The results came out this week, specifically made for the Empack event here. And you will see the first question we were interested in, it is what is it that keeps Dutch consumers awake at night? What is it where they have their pain points? And here you see the results. Climate change, it is at the very top of mind of people when it comes for looking at today's world. Cost of living, of course, inflation, that is what is impacting all of us. And in Netherlands, which is quite special, immigration came out as a number 3 point. Immigration, if we did the same survey also in Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and the UK. And immigration was also equally high in Germany. In the other countries, immigration is top 5 or top 7 only. Yeah, and of course also the warfare, war in Ukraine, war in Mid East. That is what we also see very clearly on top of mind for consumers in Europe. Then we looked a bit at the dynamics. What is it that, especially in the last 12 months, came up more strongly? And you see in the last 12 months, of course, inflation, it is cost of living, it is the war in Ukraine that is really driving consumer thinking. And that is also what is very high on the urgency agenda. Points like the pandemics, COVID-19, that is past, that is behind us. We saw already in the last year survey we did that it came down significantly and it's basically dealt with and considered as no longer relevant for consumers today. Then we asked the question on sustainability. How important is sustainability for consumers in Europe? And you see here, 64%, that is the scale of people who would have replied, sustainability has become more important in the last 12 months compared to where it was 12 months ago. So sustainability, it is a very high level of importance, and let's keep in mind, sustainability, it's also a very high level of importance when it comes to a purchasing decision at point of sales. Yeah, so it is already at point of sales that we see that consumers have the end of life of the product in their mind. That is one key thing that we need to consider when it comes to also packaging decisions. How does it compare to the rest of Europe? We see that the Netherlands, it's somewhere at the same level as the rest of Europe. We had Italy. Italy right now is outperforming when it comes to recycling activities. Italy is outperforming other European countries when it comes to sustainability. There is a very clear upswing that we can observe in Italy. The lower figure in Germany, the 56% we see here, that can be explained that recycling and sustainability has traditionally been very high in Germany. I think Germany was one of the front runners. When we look at sustainability in previous years, this might explain that the incremental will be a little bit smaller than in other European countries. And now, when we look at climate change, what is it that we think all of us can contribute in order to mitigate the risk of climate change? What is it that we can all do? And you will see the number 1 position that we have there, it's recycling. Consumers in the Netherlands very clearly see recycling as one of the key activities, one of the key actions to do in order to limit the risk of climate change, in order to mitigate the negative impact of climate change. And of course also using renewable resources. That is also one element, renewable resources, making sure that packaging being produced from renewable resources, that is very high on the agenda. Whatever has the feel of paper, whatever has the feel of a carton board, that is very clearly high on the preference scale for consumers in Europe. If you look at the lower end, here are also a few points of consumption, of food consumption, eating less meat. You see also traveling less. That is also a question that came up. Traveling less was very high on the agenda for German consumers. So in Germany, people think that by reducing the traveling activities, that is a positive impact on the total environment. In Holland, we see it is a little bit at the lower end. Another point here, planting more trees. In Netherlands, you see with 61% more in the medium range. We had some responses coming, especially here also from Germany and Spain, where planting new trees was very high, was even the #2 level. So meaning the link of growing forests, the link of growing trees, and the positive impact this has on the environment, that is very well seen in consumers' mind. That is increasingly seen, and the impact of having healthy grown forests, that is something that consumers link more and more also to total climate impact. Then this is a top-of-mind question that we put in our surveys every year. And what I want you to focus here is not necessarily the absolute figure. It is really much more the trend we see over the years. So we have this question in all the surveys we put out year after year. When we ask, what is your preference? If you would have the choice between a product coming, being in a carton package or a product coming in a plastic package, what is your preference? We see here in Holland, the reply this year was 78% preference. Compared to last year's data was a 71%, and I think this is the relevance. Yeah, it's of course we know that products packed in carton package very clearly are preferred by consumers, but it is really the trend that we see over the years. From 71% last year to 78%, this shows us that there is a very healthy trend in line. How does it compare to other European countries? Again, you see Italy standing out. Italy, 92% preference. That is one of the highest we ever had when we measured Italy. And you see that the 78% across European level, it is still quite low. Yeah, so there is a certain openness to look into plastic packaging that is still a given, while reducing, but it's still more than you would have in other European countries. Interesting also looking at the age scale, that clearly also shows here that the younger part of the Dutch population is much more open to plastic packaging material than the older part. You see the older part, 60 and up, 93% of the population would prefer carton board. So that also shows us the thinking processes that are in place here. So the older part of the population much more inclined to look into a renewable packaging material, where we have on the younger part of the population still more openness to plastics. And then the question, are we doing enough? Are retailers, are brand owners doing enough for the environment, or can there be more? We see the Dutch results. It's 2 out of 3 consumers in Netherlands would believe that there is enough action in place done by the brand owners, done by the retailers in order to protect our environment. But there is still 1 out of 3 who would say there is more to do. Yeah, there is more that we need to do in order to secure that we have a healthy environment, that we maintain a healthy environment and reverse the negative trends that are in place. Yeah, so that is this 67%. It is also here somewhere on average in Europe. We had markets like in France, where there is much more skepticism, so where this figure was at 50% only. And that also shows that across Europe we see a different perception of the way that we are looking at protecting the environment. Attitude adjustment. So what have you been doing more? What did consumers do more in the past 12 months? And also here we see in the Netherlands, recycling is really on top of the agenda. 58% of consumers responded. We did more. We put more focus on recycling. We added more focus on recycling in order to protect our environment. And the next point, the 54%, that is of course in times of inflation. And we need to have a bit in mind, if you look at the generation of the 20-year-old, they never experienced inflation. This was something that was not known. We were all living in an environment that had 2 or 3% inflation rate. That is, of course, where all the central banks would like the inflation rate to be. And that is what we managed very well to map out in the last 20 years. Now, all of a sudden, as a consequence, of course, of the war in Ukraine, we saw inflation rates skyrocketing. And then, of course, we also see that at the end of the month, in order to make the budgets meet, we need to look for alternatives. And in Holland, we have 54% of consumers moving to alternative brands other than the brands that they used to buy. So this can, of course, be private labels. And I will show in one of the next slides how this looks in your neighboring market, like in Germany, how private labels have been growing there. And the third point, reducing water consumption. So it's also increasingly seen that water, it is not unlimited availability. Water, it becomes more and more a resource that we have to look at. It becomes more and more a resource that we have to focus on. And we see that consumers in the Netherlands, 51% said we are looking at water consumption. We are looking where can we reduce water consumption. So that is, I think, also very clearly recognized in the Netherlands. Now, I just want to show you a little bit what happened in Germany when it comes to private labels. Yeah. So you see here some examples from a major retailing chain in Germany. It is Netto. It is the discount channel of Edeka. And you see how aggressively they have been positioning themselves, how aggressively they have been promoting their private label in order to really position themselves. We are protecting you, consumer. We see that you are suffering, consumer, and here are some alternatives to the regular things that you're doing. These are examples of whole page advertisings that were in German Sunday magazines, so really reaching out to the consumers right away. Full page advertising, where you see the alternatives that are aggressively offered versus the existing brands. And you see, and I never saw this in such an open way, that even the brands were labeled. You might have read in some articles when you follow a bit what is happening, there are certain companies, and Mars was one of the companies that was several times put in the spotlight of getting some extra margin out, using the inflation impact in order to get some extra margins. And this is the impact how retailers react to it. I also show you another example of DM. This is an example of DM in Austria, where in the time of peak inflation rates, which was mid of last year, DM decided in Austria, we clearly set a mark, and we take our Balea brand. Balea is the house brand of DM, and we take the prices, the shelf prices of Balea brand down by 12%, against the trend of all the other brands on the shelves. This also shows where a retailer took a clear lead in order to really position themselves. We understand your needs, consumer. We position ourselves as protecting your wallet and protecting your budgets that you can spend on. I think good examples where this shows also the increasing responsibility that retailers take when it comes to also managing inflation. And this figure shows you the importance of packaging overall. Yeah, so how important is packaging as a decision maker at point of sale? Yeah, so we asked the question, in the last 12 months, did you change your product choice because of the packaging? In the Netherlands, we had 40% of consumers who would respond, yes, the packaging was a major impact for us to change our product choice. Yeah, this means 4 out of 10. Last year, this figure was a bit higher. Last year, this figure was at 43, 44%. But we can see that there is a very high link of the packaging to the choice of product already at point of sale. That is what I said also before, that the consumer has the end of life of the product already in mind when he's standing at point of sale choosing a product. That is a very important message on the importance of packaging and the choice of the right packaging in order to create what we want to have, a strong bond. Create a bond with the consumer that will then initiate the repurchase of the product. That is a very clear given what we see here. And when we then asked the consumers in Holland, what is it that is disturbing you on the packaging side? What is it that make you move away from one product and look for another product? And you see the results here. Consumers in the Netherlands react a lot on overpacking. Yeah, so on all the overpacking, on the fake packaging, where you have lots of headspace in the package, all this is where consumers in Netherlands really react on. This was the 28% mentioned as the most frequent message here. And of course, packaging was non-recyclable. Yeah? So this is the element of a consumer does not want to be bothered at the end of life. What do I do with the package? In which bin do I put the package in? And that, of course, then initiated the next question, where we were interested to understand how confident are the consumers in the Netherlands to distinguish what can be recycled and what cannot be recycled. And you will be surprised, maybe not surprised. 79% of consumers in the Netherlands told us we can very well distinguish what can be recycled and what cannot be recycled. So we are meeting a very much an informed and a very much an educated consumer base in the Netherlands. 79% can very well distinguish what can be recycled and what cannot be recycled. To give you the perspective in Europe, the European figure, we have 82%, so it's slightly lower in the Netherlands than it is in the rest of Europe. But also in the rest of Europe, we can clearly say that more and more consumers inform themselves and make their choices also according to what can be recycled and what cannot be recycled. Yeah, I think this is the question here. What are the important packaging features when looking at a package? What is it that consumers are looking for? Here in the Netherlands, we have a very practical, functional thing like resealability. So consumers do not want to waste food if they cannot consume it in one go. So a package needs to be resealable, very high. But look at the top position. Again, we have recyclability. It is the one top mentioned feature that consumers are looking for here in the Netherlands. Recyclability of packaging material, and that is what we need to keep in mind, the importance of the recyclability, and again, be clear, consumers know what can be recycled and what cannot be recycled. Then the trust level and the confidence level on the recyclability. So 79% of consumers can very well distinguish recyclable, not recyclable. In this question, this year was the first time that we really made it even sharper, the question we said. Last year, we were still talking about what is recyclable. This year, we stress specifically, what do you believe will be recycled? Yeah, and you see the results here. Glass traditionally has a very high confidence level on consumer side. So consumers very well see that glass will be recycled and will come back as new packaging material after the recycling process. The number 2 and number 3 position this year is corrugated carton board, and it is the folding carton board. And if I now tell you for the European results, that is the first time that we see in the rest of Europe carton board and corrugated board being higher than glass. It is the first time. So before also in the rest of Europe, we always had glass being the #1 position. Now in the rest of Europe, we see that carton board and corrugated board moved ahead of glass, meaning there's a very high confidence and trust levels in the collection and recycling system of paper and carton board, and that is what it becomes more and more important. In the discussions we're having right now on European level, you have the discussions on recyclability, and here we can clearly say that there is a strong confidence level, and that's what you need. You need a strong confidence level on the consumer side if you want to get the recycling rates further up. Recycling rates in Europe, as we have for carton board, it's 82%. The industry, together with the brand owners, voiced out the target to go to 90% by 2030. Yeah, so go to 90% by 2030. That means the 8%, it sounds an easy task, but I can tell you the extra 8%, that is coming on a high level. To add 8%, that is a major job to do. Now, where can we get it from? Where are the gaps on the recycling side that we can still look into? I wanted to focus on these two elements. Paper cups and plastic cups on-the-go consumption. It's an increasing issue and an increasing habit that we see in Europe. You can buy your cup of coffee in the meantime. If I walk in the shopping centers, each and everywhere I can get a cup of coffee on the go. That is one element where we as an industry need to further focus on, that we make sure that, for example, the coffee cups, we also collect back from the markets. We have to secure that the coffee cups will not end up in the general garbage bin in the pedestrian zones. Once they are in the general garbage bin of the pedestrian zone, it's typically fiber materials that we will not be able to recollect. For us, it is important the separate collection of carton board, avoid or reduce the recontamination with any other materials. That is critical in order to really secure a high and a very good result of the recycling process. What we see here, when we ask the consumers, where do you believe in that the recycling will work, we see a very clear preference also for paper cups here. Yeah, so what we have to do now as an industry is secure the collection process, that we also gain this material back. This can give us easily 1% additional recycling rate. Another element, of course, it is pizza cartons. Yeah, pizza cartons, it's also discussed widely. Can pizza cartons be recycled in the carton stream? And I can tell you, yes, they can be recycled in the recycle stream. All we would need is just remove the food residues that you have attached to the carton board, remove them as good as possible, and then put the pizza carton back into the recycling stream. That is what can also give us another 1 or 2% to get from 82% to 92% levels. Yeah. So these are all areas where we still need to also do our job and do our improvements, but we are on a very good way, and especially the trust levels that we see on consumer side, that is what gives us the confidence that we will get there. Then we also asked consumers, are you willing to pay a little bit extra for recyclable and sustainable packaging material? Yeah, so there is, of course, if you have the choice at point of sales, that is where a decision will be made. Yeah, so that's a more elaboratory question that we put out here. But you see that especially the younger part of the population here in the Netherlands, they are very much willing to support. Yeah, you see 5 to 10%. That is a range that younger consumers would be willing to pay extra if the product is delivered in a sustainable packaging material. Yeah, that is also, you see across Europe, you see a similar pattern, that there is a higher commitment from the younger part of the population, and you see that it comes down a bit with the age of the population. But overall, there is a willingness. There is very clearly a willingness of consumers to take their part in order to make the move, the transition to a circular economy happen. And we believe, as the carton board industry, that carton board will need to take responsibility in order to really be a big part of this transition process to a circular economy. But we are very hopeful and we are very confident that we will be able to get there. One important element, of course, is a very firm legislation, that we are very clear about the legal framework we are operating in. And we expect now in 1 or 2 weeks that PPWR will finally be decided. Once this is decided, then you will also see very clarity for long-term investments in order to make this transition to a circular economy happen. Yeah, so that is my final slide. You see our contact details. Please check out our website, procarton.com. You can also find my personal contact details on the website in About Us. If you have any comments, any questions, please get back to me directly. I will be more than happy to answer any further questions. Yeah, so thank you very much for the attendance. Are there any immediate questions from the audience? Okay, then I say thank you very much, and please, if any questions, check out our website, my contact details. Very happy to answer. Thank you very much. Thanks.